Let us now wrap our game up. And we are going to start by creating a new button. And this is going to be our pause button. I'm going to place it here and I am going to name it to pause button. I'm going to set the color of it to be something like silverish. And let me just resize our button a little bit. So let me go here and resize it something like this. Set the corner or the anchor at the top right corner and position it here. I'm going to take the text and type here pause, and I'm going to select our font that we have imported, set the color to white and pump up our font size a little bit. So this is what we see here. Next, we also need to create a panel, which is going to be our pause panel. So I'm going to go under Game Object, UI, and create a panel. And let me resize the panel a little bit. So like this, resize it, set the anchor at the center and set 0, 0. And resize a little bit more. So like this, 0, 0 again for the anchors. And here we can have our panel. I'm going to pop up the alpha channel, and for the image, I am going to filter for our panel. And this is what we have here for the image. And this is going to be our pause panel. And here I am also going to create a button, and I'm going to place it here. And this is going to be our resume game. So resume game button and copy and paste it. Or first I am going to simply create our resume game. So here I'm going to filter for resume game button and set the native size, but I need to resize it a little bit. So like this, and position 0, 0 for the X and for the Y, but I am going to place it here. And now copy it. This is going to be our back to menu button. And I'm going to position this one right here. And I'm going to filter to our, so back to menu button. And this is for our pause, or for our pause panel. Now what we need to do is in our gameplay controller, we have already attached our gameplay controller script. So simply go here, double click it and open it here. And what I'm going to do is, let me just tag it and let me just go here and give a little bit space so that we can see what we are typing here. In our gameplay controller here, I'm going to remove these functions, and we are going to have a serialize private game object. So private game object is going to be our pause panel. And we also need to type here using Unity Engine.ui because we need a reference to a button. So here I'm going to say serialize field private button. This is going to be our resume game button. So here we are going to have public void functions. So the first one is going to be pause game. And when we pause the game, we want our time.timescale, so timescale, to be equal to 0 because everything needs to stop. We are also going to show our pause panel, so set active is equal to true in order to make it visible. And we are going to take our resume game button, so resume game.onClick. First we are going to remove all listeners, and then we are going to say resume game.onClick.add listener, and here we are going to create public, so public void resume game, and this is the listener that we are going to add, and the syntax for it is parentheses equals greater than sign and the name of the function, so resume game. And here in our resume game, what we are simply going to do is we are simply going to set the time scale back to 1 and set our pause panel to be deactivated again in order to resume the game. Here I am also going to create a public void restart game function, so restart game. And in order for our game to be restarted, I am going to simply go here and paste this. So restart game timescale is going to be equal to 1, but here I'm going to say application.load level, and I'm going to pass our gameplay. So gameplay like this. Here we are also going to have a public void player died function. And inside of this function, what we are going to do is I'm going to copy this right here because the code is going to be similar. We are going to stop the time, show our panel, But here, instead of calling resume game, we are going to call restart game. Because when our player dies, and we are going to do this in our timer and air HUD. So before we destroy our player, we are going to say get component passing our gameplay controller that player died. And this is going to call our function that's going to stop the game and prompt the user to either restart the game or go back to our main menu. And in order to go back to our main menu, here we need to say public void go to menu. So go to menu function. And I'm going to take and copy this one right here. And instead of going to gameplay, we are simply going to go to our main menu or our level menu. It's not important. Now we need to go back here, select our pause button and our back to menu button. And we need to attach our gameplay controller. For our pause button, I'm going to select gameplay controller, pause game function. And for our back to menu, gameplay controller and select go to menu function. We also need to select gameplay controller and attach our pause panel here, and our resume game button, attach it here, and initially deactivate our pause panel. So simply deactivate it. Now when we run the game, I can pause and I can resume. I can go back to main menu, play again, go here. And what's interesting that we don't see our player because, oh, this is interesting. And this is because of our backgrounds. Let me select the player. Oh, I did not set the sorting layer for the player. So players sorting layer, it needs to be at 2. And now if I pause the game and go to menu, play it again, we are going to see our player. Notice now if our player dies, and I'm just going to remove this from our console. So when the air drops down and our player dies, we have here, we can restart the game. So let me just click here and we have restart the game and we can, well, play it again. Let me go here and set the air timer at 100 and also our other timer at 100. And we are practically finished with our game. Let me now try to beat the game. So I'm going to go here, and what I'm also going to do, what I forgot, is I'm going to go here, and for our door, I'm going to go here when the game is finished. I'm also going to call this function right here. So I'm going to get our game manager. So here I'm going to say game object dot find gameplay controller. So gameplay controller, and I'm going to say dot get component gameplay controller player died, so that we can prompt our player to restart the game. Or when we create a real game, we can actually, well, implement a logic that's going to allow us to go in the next level, and so on and so forth. So let me now try and play the game and see if I can actually beat it. So here we have our spider. We cannot go here below. We need to jump here and get this diamond. And we need to jump over our spider. I'm going to get here our air HUD, and we need to jump over our spider jumper, which we made it. Jump over our second spider jumper. We made it here. And let me just try and jump all over these. And what I made a mistake is that we need to make them, all this can work. We also need to place our backgrounds above here so that we don't have that empty gap. So make sure that you do that. And let me just try and go here. Lastly, we need to jump over this spider, and here we have finally for our jump, but I need to go here and I forgot to set this. So make sure that you set the jump. I need to take our bouncer and set the jump at 800 or 900. So make sure that when you create your game, don't forget to set the jump on your bouncy so that it will place us or give us enough jump. And now if I go back here, player died, we can resume the game, or we can go back to our main menu. As I said, congratulations, our game is finished, and enjoy in this awesome game.